Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be starting week 6, and you all should be done with your class presentations by now. Have them turned into your group folder and also to the assignment folder that was in the week 5 folder. So this week, the first thing that we're going to do that you're going to see in the week 6 folder is the follow-up assignment that I mentioned. And basically, this is going to be where each person, no matter what group you are in, you're going to go observe the presentation from one of the other groups, and then you're basically going to be doing a critique. So the first thing that you're going to see in the week 6 folder is the directions on what it is that you're going to be doing for this critique. This is an individual project. This is not something that you have to do as a group. For this in week 6, you're doing this on an individual basis. So basically what you're going to see is reflect on week 5, critique the group presentations. You're actually going to find a folder in the week 5 folder. Those are the folders that were hidden last week when I did my lecture video. You're going to go back to the week 5 folder and you're going to see a folder that has your group number on it, and it's going to say if you were a member of group 1, you're going to do a critique over group, I believe for this one I put group 3 or group 4. But anyway, I'm going to show you that in a second. I basically am assigning you by group, whatever group you were assigned to in week 4 and week 5. You are going to find the folder that says if you were in this group, you're going to do a critique over one of the other groups. So I'm going to show you here in just one second. But basically, you'll see the directions here when you click on this in the week 6 folder. So let's go back real quick so I can show you basically where you're going to go. So you're going to see this information. So even though we're in week 6 and you're looking at the week 6 folder, you're actually going to be doing a few things in the week 5 folder and then back in the week 4 folder. So what you're going to see here, so when you scroll up and you go back to the week 5 folder, this is where you all should have submitted your assignment. One of the people in your groups would have put your final submission for your recording here in this for your group, basically to get your grade. These are the folders that were locked that you wouldn't have seen last week, but these are now going to be seen in the week 5 folder. And the reason I put them there is just because we're basically going back to the group presentation. So I put them back in that folder to kind of keep them out of the group or the week 6 folder, so it doesn't get too crowded with all of this information. So basically, if you were in group 1, you're going to reflect and critique group 3. If you're in group 2, you're going to reflect and critique group 4's presentation, and so on. So you'll basically see whatever group you were assigned to in week 4 and week 5, this would be the group that you are going to be critiquing. So let's just use for the example group 1. So group 1 has to reflect and critique over group 3's presentation. So what you're going to have to do now is you're basically going to have to go back up to the week 4 folder, because this is where the groups had all of their discussion information. And so group 1, since I put on there that group 1 has to critique group 3, you as a group 1 member individually, not as a whole group, individually, you have to go to the group 3 folder, and then you should be able to scroll all the way down. I just have to wait for it to pop up here. So you're basically going to scroll all the way down, and you should see that that the group would have a final presentation link here at the bottom. It is still Sunday, so this group likely has not actually finished their recording, and so it's probably not here yet. But anyway, you should just be able to scroll down to the bottom and see the link for the recording. So if you were in group 2, you would be doing this in the group 4 folder and going all the way down to the bottom to look for their final link, and so on. If you're confused about it this week, just email me. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but it's kind of hard since you do have to kind of bounce back and forth between some of the other folders for the other weeks. So basically just start in our week 6 folder, read this. You're going to go up here so you can see in week 5, you're going to see whatever group you were assigned to, which group you have to critique. And then once you figure out which group you have to critique individually, you're going to go to their folder, you're going to find the link for their presentation, you're going to watch it, and then you're basically going to follow the directions, because if you see here, like whichever group you were in, if you're in week 5 now and you're clicking on this link, you're going to see right here that it's basically telling you what you're going to be doing for the critique. And you're actually going to submit it here in the week 5 folder, where you see your group number. Individually, you guys are going to put your critique here. That's where you're basically submitting it. So you're going to click on reply, and then you're going to submit it. Let's see. And then, yeah, basically just like a discussion folder. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't have any other directions, but basically just read here. When you go up to the week 5 folder, you see your group number, you click on the one that you have to do your critique, then you're going to go up to the week 4 folder, find that group that you're supposed to critique, click on it, scroll all the way down to the bottom so you can see the link for their presentation, watch their presentation, and just try to think of not only things that maybe you see as somebody on the outside viewing their presentation, maybe some things they could have done to make their presentation better, but you should try to also be positive. If there were things about their presentation that you liked, make sure you mention things like that. So when you write your critique here, you're basically giving them some pointers of things that they could potentially do better the next time if they had to do another presentation like this, but then also trying to, be positive and say some things that you think that they did do well. And that's basically what you're doing for this assignment. And then as we go back, we're going to go back to the week 6 folder and actually work on the rest of the week 6 assignments. But this is basically how you're doing your reflection and critique. But if it's confusing, which I know it probably is, just make sure in week 6 you start here. It's going to tell you to go up to week 5. It's going to tell you to find the folder that or what group you're supposed to critique. And then you're going to go back up to week 4 to go into that group's folder so you can find their link. So I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. I know it's kind of confusing, but there's not really any perfect way for me to organize this where you're having to go up to other weeks to look at their folders and things like that. So anyway, moving on to what we're talking about, we're now going to talk about kind of mapping some things out like your goals and trying to figure out your motivations. So it's goals, obviously, for what your goals are for college, what it is that you're trying to do as you're moving through Rose State College, whether you're planning on making it a goal to go to a 4-year college, whether you're planning on getting out of Rose, starting work. There could be a lot of different things that could be on your path of goals that you're making to get to where it is that you want to be. And then we also have to examine what it is that motivates you, because there are different kinds of motivators. A lot of people just think, oh, okay, motivation is motivation, whether it be I'm motivated to get a better job because I want to make more money and I want to provide for my family better. Or is it motivation because it's something that actually really drives you? It's something inside you that really drives you. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with money or success. It just has to do with something that motivates you internally. And it's something that you're very passionate about. And so there's those two different kinds of motivation. If it's intrinsic motivation, that's the kind of motivation that is something that you're very passionate about. It drives you. It doesn't necessarily have to do with external things that are trying to motivate you, because a lot of times intrinsic motivation, if it's something that internally on your own, nobody else is influencing, motivates you, it's something that you're going to try harder, I would like to say, because it's so internal and it's something that you're so passionate about. While external motivators can be still motivating and it can still push you in the right direction, a lot of times those are the type of motivators that maybe after a while people kind of burn out on whatever that goal is that they're motivated towards. If it's an external factor that's motivating them, then sometimes that's something that a person doesn't necessarily follow through with, just because it really isn't something that they're passionate about. And the way that they're being motivated for it isn't something that is internal within them. So intrinsic motivation is that internal motivation, something that you're passionate about. Extrinsic motivation is where an external factor, like a raise at a job, you may not want to do this other job that you're trying to get more money for, but the motivator is being able to make more money. Doesn't mean you're going to love the job, doesn't mean you're going to stay in that job for a long time because you don't necessarily love it, but you do have an external motivating factor that's making you go for it. So that's basically what we're talking about. And when you're doing the activities for this week, after you do your critique and you get that all figured out, your first activity is going to be doing, it's called My Goals. And it's a short little writing. It's not anything major. You don't need to worry about it. You're shooting for like 100 words to 200 words, but you're basically writing a letter to yourself, kind of like you did in week 1, but you're listing your goals for the semester and you're going to explain to me how you plan to achieve those goals. And you can choose what format you want to write this, whether you want it to make it kind of formal and professional, almost like if you were writing something on your resume or your cover letter for your resume, or you can choose to write it more like a journal entry, maybe like you're talking to yourself. You don't necessarily have to make it like you're talking to yourself, but let's just say something more informal, like writing in a journal. But basically, your goal is to tell me what your goals are for the semester and how you're going to achieve them. And so you're shooting for 100 to 200 words. You can use the text entry box, or you can do this as a Microsoft Word document, whichever you prefer. And then you will submit that. And then your second task that you're going to do that is still having to do with your goals is the task 2. So when you click on that, I think it's not done loading. Wait for that to load. Okay, there we go. When you go to task number 2, which is the second assignment, this one here, you're going to first start out with short-term goals. So you need to follow along. Now, whether you use the text entry box or whether you put this on a Microsoft Word document, you might want to just take this and copy it and put it in either one just so you can follow along with it, because last semester, for some reason, a lot of people weren't completing the whole entire thing. And I don't know if that's just because they didn't have that many goals or if they just couldn't remember all the things that they needed to fill out. But what you want to start with is the list of your short-term goals. So you're going to list maybe a short-term goal for today, a short-term goal for this week, this month, this year, and then you're going to make a list of your long-term goals. So what is a goal that you have for the next 3 to 5 years for yourself, the next 5 to 10 years for yourself, maybe in the next 20 years, or what is your ultimate goal for your lifetime? And then you also need to make sure right here on the bottom, a lot of people missed this last semester and I highlighted it. I don't know why, but it says also make a list of possible roadblocks that might hinder you from accomplishing your short and your long-term goals. So what are some things that you might be able to even predict that could potentially happen that might be a roadblock to keep you from potentially being able to achieve your goals? And then you'll submit this. Pretty easy stuff, nothing too bad, but it's a really good way to kind of really map out your goals. It's always better to have even a document where you're really listing things that you're planning to do, goals that you have, and you can see that. It's something you can look at, because a lot of times we lose sight of our goals because we don't write them down. We don't really map things out short-term, long-term. And when you actually have some kind of document like that, where you're really looking at your goals in the short term, but then also looking at what you're planning on for yourself way into the future, it helps you focus and it helps you keep on track. And then the next section is the motivation section. So you do need to make sure that you are doing the reading before you get to these activities, just because it's going to help you answer the activities more fully, especially with the motivation one. A lot of people, when they did this exercise last semester, I really felt like they didn't read the section on motivation, because the way that they were answering this exercise here, and I'm going to show you in a second, I don't really think they understood the true difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So I tried to explain it there just a few minutes ago, but make sure you read this before you complete the actual activity. So for this activity, what we're doing here is it's kind of the same. You should have already worked on the My Goals assignments before this one. And you are going to basically be telling me what is going to motivate you to do the planning and the work to reach those goals, and make a list of your motivations to succeed. So basically what you're doing is you're going to make a list of 10 things that are motivating you to achieve your goals. And they could be whatever it is. It could be your parents, it could be your job, it could be your family, it could be a whole number of things, but you need to list 10 things that are motivators for you that are going to help you reach your goals. And then what you need to do is you need to determine every single one of those 10 things, whether it is an extrinsic motivator or an intrinsic motivator. So you need to look at whatever it is that you list as a motivator and say, okay, is this something that is external to what's internally driving me that's actually motivating me? Or is this a motivator that is internal, that is completely something inside myself that is motivating myself? And you need to basically, along your list of 10 things, put whether it is an extrinsic motivator or an intrinsic motivator. And then you'll submit that, which you can also do as a text entry box, or you can do a Microsoft Word file upload here as well. So that is pretty much it for week 6. I know that the reflection exercise over the group presentations is probably going to be a little confusing for some people, because we're having to hop around into folders that are in the previous 2 weeks. So just send me an email if you're not sure about something, and I'll try to explain it to you by email if something is confusing there. But the rest of the stuff that we're doing for this week is pretty straightforward. And then we have our health and wellness bonus points if you plan on doing that. Please just make sure whatever app it is that you're using, I need to be able to see that you recorded a 30-minute workout. Not 30 minutes that's done throughout the whole entire day, a 30-minute workout, whether it's a walk, elliptical, even if it's like weightlifting for 30 minutes. If you're doing some form of exercise for 30 minutes straight, you need to make sure that I can see the minutes so I can see that you actually recorded a 30-minute workout. You might need to pop around in your app to look at different screens because sometimes one screen might show your steps, but then another screen might show your minutes. And one thing I did see in the health app on the iPhone, if you are trying to upload, some of you have been doing screenshots from your health app, there is a section where you can actually choose exercise minutes because it'll show one of those little bar graphs, basically, that'll show if you did a 30-minute workout, it'll actually show it. And if you don't see exercise minutes in your health app, you may have to go to the edit function when you're clicking on the summary in the health app. And if you click on edit, you might have to go to where you can add exercise minutes to your favorites, and then it'll show up on your data feed for your health app. I just figured that out the other day because I was going through it and I saw that I had to actually choose to put it in my favorites so it would show up on my summary in my health app. So some of you might want to do that because then if you click on exercise minutes, it should, on the little bar graph that shows your exercise minutes, if you click on the little bar, it will actually show the minutes of that workout, and then it'll show the date as well, which is basically exactly what I need. But please just, even if you have to send me 2 or 3 screenshots because you're sending me one screenshot that's showing the minutes and then another one might, from the same app, but it might be on a different, page or something if you're showing me the date. I just basically need to see the date to make sure that it was done within the week that it was supposed to be done, and I need to be able to see that it recorded a 30-minute workout. So most people have figured it out and they've got it, but there's still a couple of people that I think they're just they're not sure where to go to find that information in their app and submitting the correct thing. So anyway, but I'm glad that some of you are taking advantage of that and getting your bonus points each week. So continue to do that. And then if you have questions, otherwise, just shoot me an email this week and then I will see you all for week 7.